Okay, everybody, welcome to Long Road's Post-16 event. My name's Steve Dann. I'm the Vice Principal at the college. I'm going to talk a little bit for about 15 minutes about the college in general, hopefully answer a lot of your questions. And then I'm going to talk to some students. Got three marvellous Long Road students. We've got Robyn and Lara and standing by to answer some questions from a student perspective, so it's not all just me. But let's run you through what Long Road is like in general terms, shall we? So as I'm sure you know, because we've been around for quite some time, that Long Road it's a specialist sixth form college. We're not an academy chain. We're not run by the local authority. We are run by a governing board, and we are a college of getting on for 2,500 students. And we operate on the it used to be the edge of Cambridge. It used to be the old girls' grammar school, so they built it right on the edge of Cambridge. And now Cambridge has sort of come out to meet us, and we're sort of in the middle of the biomedical campus now. We are right next to Addenbrooke's and AstraZeneca. Lots of action going on around here at the moment. It's the cutting edge of research and development. There's a building we can see. I can pretty much see it from my office window, where apparently it's got the greatest concentration of Nobel Prize winners in the world, so they say. So this is a really buzzing part of the county and of the city of Cambridge, and we've been specialising in sixth form education for a number of years, and it's different from being at school, deliberately different. It's a bit of a stepping stone between school and work, or school and university. You'll be in classrooms, so that'll look familiar to school, but you'll also have different types of learning experience as well, and I'll talk a little bit about those later on. The main courses that we offer are level 3, but we also do offer some level 2 and level 4 courses as well. Just in case you're not familiar with those terms, level 2, level 3, level 4. Basically, level 2 are the sort of GCSE level, so the sorts of level of subject that you would expect to get to at the age of 16. Then level 3 consists of A levels, and we're just loosely terming them diplomas. Their technical term is applied general qualifications, but we call them diplomas just to make it easy. We offer BTEC qualifications and Cambridge technical qualifications in that diploma suite, and A levels that you will recognise as well, that have been around a long time. And we have one level 4 course as well, which is a foundation art and design course. About 40 students doing that this year, and they're doing that after they've completed their level 3 qualifications. Some of them went to Long Road, some of them went to other institutions in the area and have come to join us for our level 4 art and design course. As you'd expect, big range of courses there, whether it's A levels or diplomas. All the ones that you would recognise from maybe doing at GCSE and from your schools. Geography, history, English, but some that you wouldn't get in a smaller institution. Photography, maybe psychology, criminology in the diploma area, graphic design, health and social care. So huge range of subjects that we offer. We don't offer occupational courses, things like hairdressing and construction. Those would be done more at a general FE college, somewhere like CRC. So ours are largely what we call academic and general applied courses. Now, the good thing about being a large college is that you can mix and match those qualifications in all sorts of different combinations. We've got a timetable that means you can choose to do any combination of A levels, diploma, extended certificates, etc. As long as you are qualified for it, we think that it will lead to progression for you, then we can make our timetable work. The reason that we can do that is because you aren't in for the full time in college. You will have times when you're in college and times when you're not in college. So there are gaps on the timetable, and that gives us the flexibility to combine courses in an infinite number of different ways. So you might want to do 3 A levels. You might want to do just diploma courses, or you might decide to do a mixture of both. And why might you decide to do that mixture? Well, it might be to do with subjects. It might be because you really fancy doing criminology alongside A-level psychology. So it's just the way that the subjects fit into those different categories. Or it may be because of the assessment differences between the two, the way that you study between the two. So just to pick up on that, all of the A-levels are 2-year linear courses. In other words, there's no modular assessment. There's no assessment during the 2 years until you get to all of the exams at the end. So they might have a small amount of coursework. Maximum is about 20% for some of those subjects. Maybe a single coursework project. So if you were to do geography, for example, you would have a fieldwork based geography coursework piece worth 20%, but everything else is examined. The rest of the 2-year course is examined at the end of the 2-year course. For diploma courses, they are more modular. They're made up of units, and those units are tested and assessed throughout the 2 years, and you build them up over the 2 years. There are still exams in most of those diploma subjects. So there are very few courses now where it's completely coursework based. There are 1 or 2, media is like that, but the majority will have a mixture of assessment types. Some of it will be coursework, some of it will be controlled assessment. So in criminology, for example, they have what they call a controlled assessment, where you do an assessment in lessons under particular conditions. But it's a different type of assessment to just being a sat down exam at the end of an A-level course. So one of the things you'll want to look at is, what is the assessment like? Does it suit me? How might it match my particular strengths? One thing that all of those courses have in common is that they are all taught by highly qualified and experienced specialists. So our teachers are really specialists in post-16 education. They don't teach year 7, then year 8, and then, you know, 6th form after that. They only teach post-16. A number of them are examiners. They've written books. They absolutely know what they're doing, and they're very experienced. The other difference is that the class sizes are likely to be smaller than at school. So our maximum class size is 24 and our average class size is 19. So there are a number of classes that are under 19. It may depend a little bit on the subject that you do. Some courses are very popular. Some courses will have hundreds of students studying for them. So something like sociology, psychology are getting on for sort of 300 students, you know, lots and lots of classes. Others, there might only be one class taking that subject. But in general, the class sizes will be a bit smaller than at school. The biggest change that students notice when they come to college is the independence and the trust that we give you in taking control of your own education. That independence and nurturing your learning, as we'd call it here. So as I've already mentioned about the timetable, the college day is from 9 till 4:10. That's quite a long college day, but you won't be in college for all of that time, and you might not be in for a particular morning or a particular afternoon. You might be having a lesson in the morning and then a gap and then a lesson in the afternoon. And that's absolutely deliberate. Not only does it allow us to have those combinations of subjects, but it also gives you time to work independently. You would be expected to work outside of lessons about the same amount of time that you are in lessons. So we don't really call that just homework, because you're expected to do more than just homework. It's meant to be research, reading around the subject, just getting involved in your subject in much more detail. So your lesson time per week for a full-time timetable would be 13.5 hours. That's considerably less than you would be doing at school, but you'll be working harder than you did at school because you'll be doing much more independent learning. And you might do that in college, or you might do that out of college. That's the freedom that you are given. The other thing that's different from school is, and you'll hear this being talked about probably by the students as well, is being treated more like an adult. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you can do whatever you want, because adults can't do whatever they want, I'm afraid. And there are still a number of, I say rules. There are still a number of expectations. So we expect you to attend all the time. We expect you to be courteous to each other. We expect you to do the work that you're set, all of those sorts of things. But we try to give you more freedom. For example, this is the obvious one. You don't call your teachers sir and miss. You call them by their first names. So even as vice principal, students would call me Steve. And that's not because I think I'm their friend, but because we're trying to work in a more grown-up and mature environment, and we're trying to put that sort of emphasis on the way things go. So we don't have a uniform. However, we would expect you to dress appropriately for an adult sort of workplace. Okay, so our aim is for you to be able to be an individual and to develop yourself as an individual. And for that reason, we don't have tutors in the same way as you have at school. We have progress coaches, and that's someone who is not a teacher, who is dedicated to helping you find your way through college and on to the next step. And we've got a couple of progress coaches answering some of the questions this evening. We've got Andrew and Dorrigan and Liam, for example. They're all progress coaches who work with students on a one-to-one basis and in small groups as well. There's a lot of other opportunities as well. Usually in most years, many more opportunities than at the moment. At the moment, it's a little bit limited in terms of some of the trips and things that we can put on, but we really hope that we're going to get back to that soon. But things like Duke of Edinburgh, volunteering, Pride Club, the extended project qualification, which is an additional optional qualification that lots of universities and employers really like. Supporting students with the med squad, people that want to get into medicine. We've got a team there will help you prepare for that, mock interviews, work experience, all of those sorts of things. Lots of opportunities, as well as all the sport that you would expect, and our own basketball academy. So have a look at a couple of students. It's always good to think about a couple of students that you might think, yeah, that's the sort of route I would take. This is Saffron. Saffron finished here a year or so ago and studied on our Applied Science Extended Diploma. That means that that's all she did. So she did the full extended diploma, worth the same as 3 A-levels, and she decided that she didn't want to go to university. She did apply and she got university offers, but then when she looked at a degree apprenticeships, she decided that actually what she wanted to do was to have real life employment with training, and she's now working on a very, very prestigious bioinformatics apprenticeship with a company called Illumina. So she's getting paid and learning at the same time, and she will end up with a degree level qualification at the end of that. It's quite competitive to get into, and she had to demonstrate a lot of extra skills. Kez is a real rose, I guess, in our bouquet. I don't know where I came up with that from. She is now at Oxford University, and the reason we're so pleased about her being at Oxford University is because she also did extended diploma. She did an art extended diploma, and one of the concerns that students and parents sometimes have is that universities don't like diplomas as much as traditional A-levels. And Kez absolutely proves that wrong. She's got into the University of Oxford. She's studying art there now, and we wish her all the best. Alex is a student who finished this year, who's now at the University of Liverpool. He took a more straightforward route, if you like, a more traditional route in terms of doing A-levels in English literature, history and sociology, and has done very, very well and is now studying at Liverpool. So We think that the best way for you to experience us is to come in and see the college. That's difficult at the moment. We're holding some virtual open evenings next month, and keep an eye on our website for that, where you'll be able to see particular subject areas. We hope that we're going to have welcome days in June where you can come in and have some practice lessons and sit in classrooms and see what it's actually like, and some on-campus open evenings at that time as well, because really you need to experience the atmosphere of Long Road to really get to know what it looks like. Our application deadline is the same as all of the CAP schools. It's the 12th of January, and your school will be able to talk to you about the application process. Do sign on to our social media sites. We're on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, as well as the web page, and there you can see all sorts of things about student life, and as well as help with the application process. So that's my presentation. I'm going to now make myself onto the screen, and I'm going to talk to some of the students. Let's see whether this works well enough. Okay, so I'm going to talk to 3 of our students now, virtually, because they're at home, and I'm just telling them in advance so that they can get their microphones and cameras prepared. I'm looking at my screen to see whether they are getting their microphones and cameras prepared. Everyone should be able to see and hear Abbie. Abbie, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what led you to Long Road.
So I went to Linton Village College, which isn't that far from Long Road, and I wanted to study at Long Road since going to the open days. Obviously you can't do them at the moment, but when I went, I just immediately liked the whole atmosphere of it. All the teachers were really friendly, they were all really welcoming, and I didn't feel like it was a very pressurised environment. It was more like a supportive environment, which is why I preferred it over the other ones that I looked at.
Okay, so at the moment, Lara, and are you a first year student or a second year student?
I'm a second year student.
Second year student, okay. So you had sort of normal education here last year, and then we went into this sort of lockdown and everything else. What's your experience of the virtual learning been like so far?
When we first had to do virtual learning, it was a little bit challenging, like just getting into a routine of it. But using Teams is actually really helpful because it is a really like organised and clear platform. And like all the meetings, they work really well. You've got assignments, so you know when all your deadlines are, and it's just like made really clear for you, so you don't miss out on any work.
That sounds really good. And you're coming in from Linton, which I know is not miles away, but what's it like, your sort of journey compared to school where you were right in the same village?
Yeah, so I used to get lifts last year, but then this year when I've been going into college, I walk from the park and ride, which is about a 20-minute walk, but I know that you can get buses, like the 13s run into Cambridge all the time. Long Road's got a shuttle bus as well, so there's a lot of different ways to get into college.
Okay, and I've mentioned before that in my presentation about the timetable being a little bit different. What's your timetable like? Have you got a good timetable?
I actually do have quite a good timetable. My Fridays are really
Okay. Oh, I think it might have frozen.
good. I've only got one, but yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So I've only got one day that I've got 3 lessons. 2 days I've got 2. 2 days I've got 1 lesson each. And I've also got 1 gap. So on Mondays I've got 2-hour gap. But that's okay because you can always meet up with friends or do some more studying. Okay.
So my last question to you, Lara, is that we've got this slogan, "Be long or belong," which we quite like. What does that mean to you? So if being Long Road or being here, what does that mean to you, being a Long Road student?
For me, I would say that it's participating in clubs. So I play football for the school. So I think that's my thing that makes me feel like I belong to Long Road, just doing things like outside of your lessons.
Okay. That's marvellous. Thank you ever so much, and thank you for giving up your time and broadcasting live from Linton. And all the best with the rest of your studies. Let me try Lara again. Let's see. Now I can see her on the screen. I'm gonna. Okay, that looks better. Lara, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's good so far. Let's give it a go. I think I've swapped my questions around now. That's going to catch you out a bit now. Okay. So I've mentioned about the sort of uniform and everything else. You know, what I know people watching this could probably be their main question. What do you wear to college? What's the style?
So what I wear to college is anything I feel comfortable in. I still wear clothes that is appropriate and work environment, but technically you can wear what you want. If it's for school or you can think about it as if you're at work, like you could wear this. But the main thing is you feel comfortable in what you wear as well.
Okay. And do you like that? Is that a good difference from school?
Yeah, at first it's a bit complicated because we use uniforms, so we don't always have clothes now. But
I just emphasise they do have to wear clothes.
Yeah. But yeah, now it makes you feel still better because you know you can do what you want or like wear what you want than having uniform.
And how difficult was it to move up to college learning? Sort of, you know, was it a big step up for you for learning, or was the transition okay?
For me, I found it okay because I was already used to have like independent learning or lesson, or I use a bit of virtual, and at the moment we're using virtual a lot, so I was fine with this. But it was still a big step because I wasn't thinking we got that much independence, and like you said, we treat us like adults. And in secondary school, we don't get that. We don't get the teacher being confident much at us, but now we actually do.
Okay, that sounds good. And what do you do? So when you don't have a lesson, what do you do? Do you leave college, or do you go and work somewhere in college on a normal week when you're actually, you know, learning in college, not doing virtual learning? What would you do between lessons?
So sometime I will either go home to do some of my homework or more studies, but sometimes when I have big gaps, I will stay in school to here as well, either be with friends and socialize or do some learning, homework. You can do as well clubs, or there's the gym as well, which we can do.
Okay.
At the moment, it's hard to do clubs or the gym, but hopefully it will start going and we could do that.
And did you find it easy to make new friends when you came here?
So yeah, I actually found it easy because when you move to college, there's a lot of people from different school, and I went to a class and all my class were like new people, so no one knew each other. So we had to speak to each other, and the teacher are making sure as well you speak to everyone and that you're a friend with everyone. And everyone is friendly as well, so you can just speak to them and they will be friend with you.
Sounds okay.
Yeah.
That sounds brilliant. Okay, I'm going to come back to you in a little bit because I'm going to move on to Robyn now, and by the power of technology, let's see if I can do that. Excellent. That looks like it's worked so far. Robyn, just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Right, so I'm Robyn. I live in Streatham near Ely, and I went to Mildenhall College Academy in Suffolk for secondary school when I lived with my dad.
Okay, and so a few questions to you about life at Long Road. What sorts of things do you do outside of class and study?
Well, I personally either sit in this is when I'm on site. I either sit in the marquee, which is the new kind of place where you can sit and eat or socialise and spend time with my friends, or if they're all in lesson or not on site, I'll go to the student centre and use my laptop for studying or for some background noise while I study using my textbooks and just focus on doing my work.
So you've mentioned there that you've got a laptop. So do you bring that in and use round college in lessons and things? What's the Wi-Fi like?
For me, the Wi-Fi works reasonably well, unless I want to watch something on Amazon Prime. Then it's no. But for my lessons, it works really well. I use it primarily in criminology because for that, it's more important that I get everything in one place so I can then have it all for my controlled assessments. But for I use it a bit in history for some research if I'm not 100% sure on something, but I don't use it in psychology.
Okay. And what about this progress coach model then? And how does that? Who's your progress coach, and what sort of things do you do with them?
Well, my progress coach is Luke, and he is basically my guide in a way. He helps me when it comes to applying for university, such as my UCAS application and my personal statement. He runs a tutorial, or he did last year. At the minute I don't know what's occurring with them, and that's where you are in a classroom with people from your own year group and you discuss topics that matter to you, such as climate change, elections, politics in general, and it's an opportunity to speak to people who you might not normally speak to because they're not normally in your class.
Okay. All right. So did you make friends pretty easily when you came here?
Yeah. When I actually made my first friend on the enrollment day. I was sat next to her while waiting for the photos, of all things. And we just became friends, and then she introduced me to her friends. They introduced me to more people, and so on and so forth. So I ended up with a very big circle for a while, and then I kind of brought it down to a handful of people.
Quite selective. What other support is there for students, outside of your progress coach and everything else? Do you get any other support?
There's academic support who kind of help you in other areas, and there's the school counsellors who can help you if you're struggling mentally and can give you some guidance on what you need to do to just feel better generally about college life, home life. They're very, very helpful.
That's excellent. And final question to you on this sort of bit there. What is the workload like? How hard do you work, do you think?
It's definitely a step up from GCSE. Initially I thought, oh, it's 3 subjects, it'll be a breeze, I won't have to do anything. And then the first key assessment came around and massive flop. And that's when I was like, okay, you have to spend time outside of your lesson blocks doing revision, doing some extra work, catching up if you've missed anything. So it is more. It's definitely more, because I personally got through my GCSEs without revision.
That's not a good thing. Not a good thing to admit to the vice principal here, is it? But there you
No, but it's definitely a step up, because I do have to sit and dedicate study time now.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, I'm going to move back to Abbie, I think, just to sort of get back in the order of things there. So Abbie, hopefully you're there and ready. Let's see if that works. Abbie, lovely to see you again. Okay, Abbie, one of the things that we do to prepare students coming to Long Road is set some summer work. Can you remember back to the summer work and what it was like? Did it help?
I do remember it, and I think it did help for me at least, like the maths especially, because you kind of learnt the basics of what you're going to do, at least in the first few weeks of college. So you're not going into it knowing nothing, you at least are a little bit prepared.
Okay, and what this sort of talking to your teachers and not calling them sir and miss and calling them by their first names, how weird was that to start off with?
It was a little bit different, but I like it just because it's not as formal, is it? It's more like friendly.
Okay, and you didn't embarrass yourself and call them dad or anything like that in the first? No. Okay, I had someone call me granddad once. Okay, so what are the other main differences for you from when you were at school?
I think the independence is definitely a big thing. You have to be responsible for your learning and organise yourself. Like, you don't have homework diaries, like if you've got that at secondary school. You've got to keep track of everything that you've got going on. And yeah, I think the workload is also a step up, like Robyn said earlier. You definitely have more work, but it's a manageable amount. You still have time to socialise and do clubs and things like that.
Okay, and finally, my question to you on this bit: do you feel safe being in college at the moment with all this COVID stuff going around? What's the feeling, the vibe for you being here? Because there's a lot of students.
Yeah, personally, I feel okay. I think the thing with a lot of students, because it's basically cut in half, because year 1 and 2 are kept separate because of the alternating weeks that we do. But also you have to wear face masks when you're not in class. So when you're walking around college, you've got one on. Yeah, and there's socially distanced signs as well, like keep to the left when you're walking on the corridors. And the whole layout of some things have changed as well. Like the toilets, for example, you don't have open bins without lids. You've got like the ones with foot pedals, so you don't have to touch anything. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of new things that help with the whole COVID situation.
Okay, thank you ever so much for that. I'm going to go back to Lara. I'm getting a little bit confused because we had that slight wobble early on, but I think Lara is all good there. So Lara, I'm going to just ask you a couple of questions here. Have you been on any sort of really good trips or visits while you've been here?
Not really, because I'm in year 1.
Oh,
so
you're year 1. Okay. Not yet. You've got that to come
Yeah.
forward. So I'll ask you a different question. I'll go back. How would you describe the Long Road campus for anybody that's not been here? I've got a nice picture behind me, but how would you describe the environment?
So it's really open. There's a lot of green space, and there's as well a woodland at the back, I would say, of a block. So at the back of Long Road, which is very open, and you have nature, and you have big space of green, like field, so you can just go anywhere and have free time. There's next to the student center, so in the middle, around all the blocks, you can as well socialize there, or like just sit and eat. There's a table for you here, so if you want to do revision or homework here as well.
And do you go into town at all? Have you gone into the middle of Cambridge and between lessons or anything?
Not yet, but it's very easy to get there because we are not too far. There's the bowling area or the cinema next to it that is not too far. So it is possible to go and be with your friend and just go there for a bit straight after school or before.
So, okay, so you can sometimes go down maybe after college and meet up with them and everything else. That's brilliant. Okay, I've got a few more questions. I'm going to go to Robyn again. Robyn, prepare yourself. Okay, it's always good. Right. Okay, there you are, you see. I don't want to sort of put you on the screen and you're sort of, not doing something, not paying attention. So, okay, Robyn, this is the big question that I know lots and lots of students will be asking back at home there. What's the food like?
I personally love the food. Before lockdown, I mostly ate hot meals at school, and the hot meals, there's like specific days where they do food from different cultures. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a Lebanese day where they do like flatbreads with different types of chicken, and there is a vegetarian option. There's pretty much always a vegetarian option. So it's like peri peri chicken, barbecue chicken, chicken tikka in a flatbread with salad, and it's really good. But there's other options as well. So there's the cold section, which is more like a grab and go, where you can get sandwiches, wraps, crisps, drinks, and they do a meal deal there for sandwich, drink, and crisps for $3.50. And then also on site, which is amazing, is the on-site Costa, which obviously does Costa drinks. And then there's more like a bakery section, so there's sausage rolls, which are a personal favourite of mine, and there's other types of pastries, savoury and sweet, such as like different bakes. There are croissants. I did not pronounce that right, but yeah, really good. I really enjoy the food.
I feel like I hit on an area of passion and specialist knowledge there, Robyn. To be honest, I'm I'm glad you had that detail to hand. So okay, what trips and things have you been on, or did you manage to get on last year?
I went on 2 trips last year. I went to Lincoln with criminology for kind of a taster lecture at Lincoln University for criminology to see what the step up to university would be like if I went down that road. And we went to Lincoln Castle to look at the prisons, which was really interesting.
Oh.
But then the showstopper trip for me was when I went to Poland with psychology, and we went to Auschwitz. We looked around the old town of Poland. We went to museums. We tried some actual Polish food. It was really interesting, and I will never forget it.
That sounds absolutely amazing. I mean, the Auschwitz trip must have been a real sort of like thought-provoking, eye-opening experience, I'd imagine.
It really was. Like, I'm pretty sure I almost cried at Auschwitz because you just see everything that happened there, and it's incredibly overwhelming and full of sadness. And I think we even walked through a gas chamber, and that's where it was really heavy.
Wow. Okay. Well, okay. I'm going to move on to Abbie again, and yeah, you've given us a lot to think about. About there, we've gone from the canteen over. Okay, so Abbie, let's see what I was going to ask you. I'm just going to talk you through. What about your future plans? I mean, what are you thinking of in terms of university or apprenticeships or employment, and what sort of support are you getting with that?
So I'm hoping to do medicine to be a doctor. So I've actually been working on my UCAS application today, writing personal statements and looking at universities that I want to apply for. And because the school, like Steve said, has got a med squad, it's been really helpful to organise different opportunities. So I made a research poster about antibodies and presented it at the Baberham Institute, which is also like just up the road from Long Road. And then I also did a Young Farmers project, which is basically you got to go into the labs at Cambridge University and do lots of experiments in pharmacology labs. So that was definitely a really cool experience to do.
That sounds really, really good, and all the best with that. I hope that goes well. So I'm just going to ask one more question then to each of the three of you, and I'll stick with Abbie at the moment on this one, but the other two I'm going to come back and ask the same thing. What bit of advice would you give to current year 11s who are thinking about their next step and thinking about what they should do next year?
I would say try and find a way to make yourself get organised, because you are going to have to be organised yourself when you go up to Long Road. So for me, I've got a whiteboard and I write like things to do for today, like all my lessons and homework that has to be handed in, just so I don't forget anything. And I would recommend doing the summer work as well, just so you do go into your lessons knowing a little bit about the basics.
Okay, that's really good advice. I'm going to go on to Lara and ask the same question, Lara. So for you, what bit of advice would you give to year 11s?
I will give them to be confident about moving to college, and as well, they need to do the summer work so it can help them on their lesson to know what they will do. Have folder. Be ready to have folder everywhere. And yeah, paper to take notes. I will say as well. I forgot what I wanted to say.
Would you recommend they went to Long Road?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Robyn. Same question to you then. The last question, Robyn. What bit of advice, final bit of advice that you would give to people sitting at home thinking about this?
Well, do as I say, not as I do. Actually revise, please. It will help. It really will. Even at like even now I'm seeing the difference between the grades that I got when I didn't revise and the grades I get when I do, because I went from a D to an A* in psychology, so revise. Also, as I think Abigail said earlier, that we don't have homework planners, invest in one. It has changed my life. But make sure it's academic, because then it will go from September to July rather than January to December. That's no good. Get an academic one. It has helped me so much with my organisation.
Well, can I just say thank you so much to our 3 students there who, you know, that's pretty scary, sort of doing a talk to an audience that you can't see and you just think they're behind your computer screen somewhere. I think they did absolutely brilliantly, and they are the best people to really tell you what it's like at Longroad. So we've come to the end of our time, and we really do hope we can see you on our beautiful campus at some time in the future. In the meantime, do look out for those virtual open evening events where you can talk to some of the subject teachers and get a much better idea of what they actually do there. But hopefully this has given you a little bit of a it's whetted your appetite to do that and to think about coming and finding out more about Longroad. So wish you all the best, and again, hope to see you soon. Bye bye from all of us at Longroad.